part of the business, so we wouldn't have to ask for a permit to put tables there, but it wouldn't work. We're not planning to serve anything outside. We have a very nice back room in the back.
If not to interrupt, if you do proceed and obtain a license, we would certainly want to hear from you if you had any plan to have outdoor seating, even though as you like.
Absolutely, I will.
Even
But
though you
I
don't
mean,
have to get a license. But
honestly,
that's not a change of
I can
business.
tell you that it's
Yeah, it's like sharing.
it's not being down a little caved, and the stairs are big and people have to pass by, and it's just not the same situation I have on Atlantic Avenue. Everybody passed by and say, why do you want to put tables there? I don't think that people would enjoy eating there. It's just not nice. So it won't happen, but in case it will, absolutely we will let you know. But again, I don't see it happening.
I mean, it would be, I think, unfortunate if you eventually did that, as is your right as a businessman, and
No, I think it would be in the face. I think that would be disrespectful, because that would be.
at least on that Sunday when they're doing a
That's why, and we told them, that's why we're gonna try to be as I'm not saying that because we're selling wine inside the restaurant is different, but it is different not having people drinking right on the side of the street. So yeah, definitely the reason why we're not going to do it in part is because of that could be our right to do it, but that would be right in the face of the church, which doesn't make any sense for us.
I just have comments. Maybe the neighborhood, maybe the third restaurant is saturation around there, because I live in that neighborhood. And I think another business that we're seeing tonight too is going to be a third space on 8th Avenue between.
Right,
yeah. So there's this thing about saturation too. Have you done any research to find out if there is a great demand for pizzeria in that neighborhood?
I think there is a big demand of very good food, and our pizza is definitely different. Cater a different. I mean, that's the task we had every time we open a restaurant, to just work and work with our market to understand what's this new authentic Italian pizza is. But yes, we definitely think there's a big market.
Yeah, on that point, their existing competition, Babalucci, right, up by
right
Co,
here.
they seem to be doing well.
Very well.
They have full liquor license. Harlem Pizza was 16th, which is only one in here.
Yeah, but that's,
They seem to do
But it's the one on 126th and 127th, that's along a commercial strip. You've got Red Rooster, Sylvia's, Corner.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just addressing whether
if
there's a need for it. I mean, I don't know. I'm saying that the competition seems to do well. Now, whether that's good for them or bad for them, I don't know. Whether that means there won't be demand.
Because we have a new restaurant around there too, and there's nobody in there, and I think it's the most beautiful thing in the neighborhood.
Which is that, the Chawali?
Yeah. You walk by, you look in, it's so beautiful. They invested so much money, and there's no one in there.
Sally?
Yeah. You're saying you're coming into the neighborhood and you're being categorized as something negative, and I don't think that's what we're trying, I don't think that's what it is. Coming into the neighborhood and you not being from the neighborhood and coming into the neighborhood, it would appear that you would want to be a good neighbor. And there's a compromise here that really needs to be met. It's not that, there's this is all because it is ruling that you shouldn't be 200 feet. We consider wine and beer, you can drink enough wine and beer and fall out on the sidewalk as you can drink vodka or whatever. So in being a good neighbor, if you may, or choose to, is there
Yeah.
any way that there could be a compromise? Because what you're telling us now is the same thing that we talked about before, number one. Number two, is there any way, because, I mean, would it hurt your business so drastically that while church service is going on, that you don't serve wine and beer? So you're opening it too, and you talk with them and say, maybe the church service is over at 1 or 1:30, that you start selling wine and beer at 2 o'clock.
That
I
would
mean, is that,
probably, you know, Sunday morning is a big thing, but if
I'm asking,
no, I mean
as a compromise.
that could be a compromise that we can talk.
I mean, if they know that service is over at a certain time, I mean, maybe you can come to an agreement, say, you know, I mean, you're talking about an hour and a half or 1:30. I'm just saying to show your, you know, to show your good faith.
Yeah.
Because there is an issue. And the issue is, and that's why we did not, the board voted against it because of that issue. You know, besides the fact of the matter while church is going on, if there's no smoking inside, so people would be smoking. You know, and to respect that church and the institution of that church, we're asking you to do that. And I think for an hour and a half or 2 hours, it's not a lot to ask, because you're gonna be open 7 days a week. So 2 hours.
What are you talking about, not opening? in the
No,
morning?
not open, but just
But not serving to
don't serve until the church service is over. You could, you know, I just don't think that's a lot to ask. I mean, you're coming back here and it's the same conversation that we had before. So there really hasn't been any movement. You said you talked to the church, and then finally you didn't talk to them until after you came to the board meeting. So now you talk to them. Okay, great, but still there isn't any movement. And we just, I mean, there may be some compromise there. Maybe not what I said, but there should be some sort of, or can be, some sort of compromise. I think it would make the church happy, and then we would also look upon it favorably. Well, you wouldn't be here. We didn't have any involvement, then you don't need to be, you wouldn't be standing in front of us.
Well, I think we need to check with the church and find out the hours of service for starters.
I'm just thinking it could be
It's
some
not a
sort
bad
of,
idea, but why don't we just check on
I'm
the services?
The services is only in the Friday in the evening, and
They have
the
something
Sunday.
on
This
Friday.
is a church,
Sunday.
this is a Sunday church, they have Sunday.
It is a Sunday service.
Yeah.
So she's saying they're saying they have a Friday one too, though.
They have a
We
Friday,
went for the Sunday service.
they have a Friday service too?
They have Sunday service, but they do have Sunday.
Okay.
Any other questions for these folks?
I wasn't clear. You met with the church. What did the church say?
What they said?
They're agreeing to disagree, so to speak. And, you know, the church doesn't want them to have wine and beer.
Period.
They would like to have wine and beer.
The church doesn't want them to have wine and beer, period.
Right.
Yeah.
That, and justification for that is what?
Because you're right next
Right
to it.
next door to a church.
They don't think it's
Okay,
coming.
and it's next door to a church, and
Well, the 200-foot rule.
No, the rules, there's
No,
no.
there's no
Yeah. I know we're saying there isn't, but wine and beer is, and I don't know why people act like wine and beer is like
Well, what
Kool-Aid
is,
It's
but
alcohol.
and ginger ale.
But no, that's a valid point, but if you say the law, don't mix the law.
Okay, I'm
with-
sorry.
Right.
That's
Sorry,
valid point.
counselor.
If there were,
No, you're-
if there was a
okay.
rule, they wouldn't be here.
I
They're
heard
getting
you.
back.
I heard you.
and that's still my question. If the law says they can't do it, then that's it.
Then it's
But if the law doesn't say, then I'm not trying to make an argument. I'm just
You are.
trying to, I'm not really not trying to, I don't understand what is the objective? Has there been problems before with alcohol and you know, I'm seriously saying, what, if the church is closed on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Right.
what is the problem with them having liquor, wine and beer? serving wine and beer.
I don't know, you have to
The
ask the
is
church
closed.
that. I mean, I'm not advocating
So if
for
we're
that.
adopting the churches, all right, so
That's
let's,
not what I'm saying,
I'm
I'm just saying, you know.
and I agree, your compromise may be,
Sunday.
your compromise may be the most realistic way to go, but if that's what the church is saying, if we're adopting the church's argument, why are we saying that?
I don't know if we voted, I don't know if we're saying it, it was in our vote, we voted no.
Well, we're gonna
So, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, it's an assumption that we adopted the churches.
Well,
I mean,
we voted no, I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the assumption. So, okay.
any other questions?
Have you gotten any further signatures from local residents and or business establishments?
No, because we didn't know it was
We applied
necessary,
for
but we can get, we're moving into, you know, all the association in the community. We just applied with Mount Morris
Sam.
to, you know, and it was
Sam.
great to get tonight
Yes.
for, we didn't start any local hiring or any hiring because, you know, it's restaurant business. You're never gonna get people in a month and a half.
It'd be great to see outreach on your behalf to the local residents in the form of some sort of petition.
More petition?
Yeah,
Okay.
Because I think
I-
we were at 18 before, 18.
Yeah, businesses and the sheets that we had, the
I think there were 18
signatures,
signatures, so I
the
would.
signatures were
More
basically
of that.
tenants in the building, and they've only been there for about 4 or 5 months.
I would seriously suggest that you seriously consider Stanley's position, because if not, his argument, the position he made is hard to argue, whether you agree or not, whether the alcohol beer should. I mean, we can get into that whole discussion. The reality is that the board overwhelmingly voted against it, and if you come back at the same time with the same argument, then it's just going to get. So I think I would seriously suggest you just take a look at the argument, the position, the compromise he gave, because then it shows you're trying to do something. Because then you're addressing the issue of when the church is in session. And that, because other than that, I don't know why the church, if they're not in session, if they're closed up, the church is closed, why they would be concerned with what's going on when they're not there, you know.
Okay, we will absolutely.
And if you do it right when after, you serve it after they close, after they leave, you may have the argument that, you know, once a place is open, when you come back for renewal, that a lot of those church members came from church and came to your place and partaking in it, and, you know, and I'm being facetious, but I think the reality is Stanley, I think you should really seriously consider what he said, because if not, you're just gonna have a problem, I think.
We're not looking for problems.
Okay, anything else? Any questions from the community?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
So we have,
Was it?
we'll discuss it.
Thank you, bye.
We have one more, thank you. We have one more application, Indigo Kitchen Harlem LLC, do business as Blue Jean, 2142 Frederick Douglass Boulevard, between 115th and 116th. Mr. Nolan, step on 21, did I mistake that? What is it? It's the, 143, okay, I'm sure that's. Yeah, fat fingers. So you've, ready?
Yeah.
So you've been open for about a year?
No, not that long. We opened April 16th.
Okay, and you started with a wine and beer license, and you now are interested in a full liquor license.
Correct.
Now you're in between Street Bird Harlem and the L Lounge. You're in the church, the building with St. Stephen's
Right.
That's
Church.
Mm-hmm.
But you submitted a letter today from them supporting what you're doing now.
They support, correct.
And technically, they don't have a legal basis to object because the building is not just the
We
church.
found when Street Bird applied for their license that because the church is part of a multi-use building, that the same rules didn't apply. But the church does support us.
Okay. So why do you, from a business point of view, why do you feel like you want to?
Well, a lot of Street Bird, Row House opening up, you know, we've been told that our food is very good and people like coming to the restaurant. You know, we've gotten very good reviews from, you know, numerous publications, but, you know, people come in and they say, you know, we would come here more, but we want to have a cocktail. You know, they like our experience, they like the food, but, you know, we want to have a cocktail. So it makes it difficult for us to compete in that sense, but, you know, we just want to offer our customers more of what they're asking for.
As an aside, you submitted a petition signed by 30, 40?
A lot of people.
A lot of people. There were a lot of, just for future reference, and even for this proceeding, a lot of the signatures were from Brooklyn.
Well, we had people support, but you know, who right?
Were there? Did you have people from the building, for example, signing that petition?
We do
I know
have
there were a lot. There were a lot
right.
from around.
We do have people from the building, and we also, and I'll get into that for a second. But you know, we have neighbors and residents, people who live around the restaurant, who frequent the restaurant, who wanted to support it.
Right.
And you know, they asked us if they could do that. You know, there's a slight situation in the building.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
So essentially, you've been sued by one of your upstairs neighbor for being too loud. Is that
Just a neighbor.
okay? And we received some objections from other people in the building who feel like it's too noisy, and if you have a liquor license, they fear that it would be, I guess you'll do better, and that will make it noisier. And there are some questions about the soundproofing in the restaurant. So, and there are probably people here
From the
who
building.
are going to talk about that.
I can
So why don't you give us your view on what's been going on?
All right, well, you know, first of all, in the documentation that I sent you, we are within New York City code for sound. We had sound experts come in, and, you know, we did other things. You know, we had the developer come in, seal up some holes, seal up some cracks, and then we did testing to see exactly where the restaurant stood, and we are within code. And you have the documentation there that shows that. That's number one. Number two, we've never, ever had a sound complaint, ever, from anyone. Not from a neighbor. The police have never come out. We've never had anyone say anything about us being too loud. The lawsuit, the basis of the lawsuit, and I don't know how much of that I can get into,
It's
is...
public document, though.
Okay.
So you could
The lawsuit basically, we were sued 3 weeks after we opened. Basically, the tenant above us asked us to build the restaurant in a different way than we were approved by the building department to build it. So we were not unneighborly. We simply said, okay, let us build it the way that it's planned. And then if there's an issue, then we'll address it together. Being open for 3 weeks certainly doesn't give us time to do that. And so rather than go, you know, call the police and make a noise complaint, or go to the city of New York, which I've been told several times is normally what happens. Somebody comes out and they say, hey, you know, we got a noise complaint, we're going to check and see if you're too loud. You either are or you're not. That didn't happen. So actually what happened was they kind of skirted that process and sued me, saying that I was disrupting their quality of life. It's not so much a sound suit. So they tried to shut us down, which a judge did not do. The judge said this sounds like a sound issue, so why don't we address that? And so that's what we started to do. So if not for the judge, you know, and
Is that still pending, that lawsuit?
yes.
Okay. Are those the people who sued you? Are they here?
They're not here, I have material from them.
Okay, we'll do that.
And I just want to add something else too, which is, I think, is part of that whole case. They signed a waiver knowing that our space would be a retail space. And the waiver said that they agreed to live over a restaurant, retail. I'm sure they got a better price for that. and that they could not sue the developer or the management company or the church, because the church has an auditorium, they're going to have sound and concerts and things like that, so they signed a waiver that they wouldn't sue them. However, the waiver didn't include future tenant.
Right,
And so, right.
Now we have
Wait a minute, John, the waiver did not include a future tenant?
Right, did not include future, you would not sue future tenant.
So he was excluded.
But you can't sue the management company, the developer, or the church, which were all in place at the time that they purchased the apartment. But I purely think it was oversight that someone didn't include in the waiver that you wouldn't sue the tenant. We don't own the space.
Right.
And we're to code. We're to code. And we're going above and beyond. We are putting in a new ceiling.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that. So we have, we've been submitted the expert sound report that was submitted to court by the plaintiff who sued them. You submitted some description of your sound expert.
Right.
We're not like a court, we're gonna determine that litigation, Cicely might be able to do it, but she's, but I did read their expert report, and the expert report says that you should drop your ceiling, you have a lot of exposed pipe, there's nothing but just a bare concrete ceiling, there's no, there's a common insulation that, you need to drop the ceiling and seal the pipes up and put sheetrock around your columns, because I guess that's a noise conduit.
That was already done.
And we have had restaurants who come in here and have taken some serious steps and spent some serious money sometimes to do that. So, have you done any of that?
Yes.
Plan to do any of that?
We have done that, and we've also, we put in more speakers, lowered the volume. We had built speaker boxes that have insulation around them to direct the sound down and away from the ceiling. We've done, all types of caulking and sealing and cement in the ceiling to seal up any holes. And just a note about their sound expert, he never did a test from inside the restaurant.
Wow.
Our sound expert did a test from inside our restaurant while they were upstairs in their apartment. And the documentation should show that. They never were inside of the restaurant.
So let me ask you, so the people in the restaurant saying that they're having problems, right? The people who live in the building are saying that they're having issues with the sound
No,
problem.
just one person.
Is
Just
saying
one
that.
person.
But this one's.
Has there been other complaints?
Just this week, we've gotten complaints from other people.
I can explain that as well.
And then we've also, we also got from someone in the building, this is it's a petition, but it's not a signed petition, it's a list. Tenants who, the person who submitted this say are having problems, but it's not a signed petition, so.
Can
If you want the sign, it can be signed.
I'm just pointing out.
Can I address that?
Well, let me ask.
So I think there's a sense that there's a problem for more than just the one unit that's.
Can I address that?
Well, hold on, let's go to my question. Do you believe, you're saying there's only one, they're having a petition where it looks like several names, I can't count them. Do you believe there's a problem?
Up until the day I put the notice in the window, we had not had one single complaint against our restaurant. We had not had one person in the building say anything against the restaurant. In fact, we have many residents that eat in the building, and some of them ask us, they say, hey man, you need a liquor license. We love this restaurant, we want to see you stay here.
So you don't think there's a problem with the sound at all?
But I'm going to tell you what happened. I put the notice in the window. I was sitting in the restaurant at the time, and that particular tenant walked by, my neighbor, and she smiled, and she took a picture. And I came outside and I said, this is a public hearing. You don't have to take a picture of it. And the very next day, I got an email that she sent to everyone in the building expressing her case. And I'm sure you can find that email, and you would see a timestamp on the email saying, please, please, please oppose this restaurant.
Do you believe there's a sound problem in the building?
No, I do not. But That's not our point. Our point is we don't want to have an issue
Right.
with our neighbor. We don't want
Right.
to do this over and over. So we've addressed these things. We've spent a lot of money. Sound experts cost a lot of money. Attorneys cost a lot of money. And we're putting in a new ceiling, which costs a lot of money.
So are you, is that completed yet? Or you
It's
still-
not completed, but they have
yours-
started. They have
Okay, so
started.
you haven't done the full remediation yet?
Well, we haven't been required to do that. We're
I
going above and
understand,
beyond
I
to do
understand.
that.
Which again, other people have come in here and have done.
Right. And we're going to do the same thing. Just,
Okay.
you know, I just want to make it as, you know, sealed up as tight as possible.
Okay. Why don't we hear, I don't know if there's a representative or.
There's a couple of us here.
Are you the owner?
You are,
No.
I'm sorry?
Are you the owner?
Yes, sir. I'm the owner of the shop.
You mean like this?
so is there anyone who would like to address the noise issues felt by the residents?
I'd like to.
Yeah, please.
Thank you.
I think they have some issues.
Yeah. My name's Kenneth. I live actually in apartment 2B, which is just to the side of the restaurant. But I live above the butcher, and I live next door to the L Lounge. So I'm in the middle. I get a little bit of both. When construction was going on, there was no reason to complain about construction, because construction is construction. So there was no complaints about that. I have, in the evenings, I can hear the restaurant activity through my bathroom, in my studio a little bit, but in the evenings, I'm generally not in there. I don't live in that part of the apartment in the evenings, especially after 9 o'clock at night. I just don't live there. When Lucille, my next door neighbor, called me over and said, "You have to come and listen to this," I was astounded. I mean, literally astounded by not just the noise, but it was as if the restaurant, the diners were in their living room and in their hall and in the apartment, but they're invisible. I mean, conversations, moving dishes, everything. It was just, I mean, it was amazing. I was truly astounded. And it went on. Came back a couple of times and said to her, "You really need a sound engineer. You need somebody to take a measurement of this." I also said to her that you really should go downstairs and invite him upstairs so he can actually hear for himself what it's like. Because to me, that's the only way you're really going to get an understanding. It's the only safe way.
We never got that opportunity. Again, you know, there are emails to show that, you know, I was very sympathetic to, I don't know what they were hearing, but I said, you know, let's find out. And we never got the opportunity to do that. She sued us. And after she sued us, then, I mean, any attorney tells you this, there's nothing more than we can do except address the suit, and that's what we did. And to a certain degree, a judge agreed with us. So, you know, but we're going above and beyond. And just to address the construction for 1 second, it wasn't just construction. We didn't just start construction. We knew that we may have an issue because when we started construction, Ms. Chung had us shut down the very first day. And she had us verify our permits, our contractors, and our insurance. Now, anybody doing construction knows that you have to have insurance in order for the contractor to even start work, in order for the building department to even give you the permit. So everybody got involved.
They put a stop work order on your site?
For 24 hours.
Why? If all those things are in place, that stop work order is kind of rough.
Because the, well, what it wasn't, technically it wasn't a stop order. What happened is that they drug it out to the point where we were past the time that you could do construction. And the contractors were on site, and since they couldn't work, you know, it was like 4 o'clock, 4:30 before we got permission to continue work. And they said, you know, we'll be back tomorrow. But that was the very first day. And everything was in place, all of our permits, but they went to the super, and the super called the management company, and they said, you can't put another drill or anything in there until we verify your permit, the permit that we had from the New York Building Department, verify that, verify the contractor and the contractor's insurance, and then which is something that you don't normally do, but for a retail space, but put the Livermore building as additionally insured for me to build out my restaurant. And my contractor's a good guy. Normally they would never do that, but he said, I'll do that. We don't have a problem here. This is an easy place to work on, so I will do that.
Well, I have, again,
There's
no
a
knowledge
record.
of,
There's a
no
record.
knowledge of that, but one thing I do have knowledge of is what it was like in their apartment when restaurant business is flowing through. And it was shocking, disturbing, and I am not, there's no exaggeration, it is literally like if we're all having a conversation except we can't see each other, but they're right there in the living room, all over. I saw her put in her daughter's room a noise machine, which I have 2 of, to work against the L lounge on my side.
Yeah, I was about to ask, have the residents had issues with the L lounge?
Oh, yes. Yes, we've had a number, I mean, this month alone, I've made 6 311 calls, 4 police calls to the precinct directly, because they, these 311 things do not work. And one of the things that is, to me, about this whole thing, and I'm not a lawyer or anything, but when I walk down from 110th Street walking down, and I look at the amount of on-premise liquor license around, just on our block alone, between 115 and 116th on Frederick Douglass, we have 3. We have 3. We have Savannah, around the corner of 116. Around the corner, right at Street Bird. L Lounge, right there, and just right across, less than 270 feet, we have Giotto, which is a sushi place that had liquor
What
license.
seems to be the issue with this?
The issue is about, I really do believe, and I agree, that the more business that the restaurant gets, it's going to kick up the sound. It really will. It will kick up the sound a lot. I don't know how, I mean, I remember being here when Londell said, oh, we talked about people going outside and smoking out under our bedroom windows with the fan pulling all that smoke and stuff. And he said to me, and to this board, oh, my people don't smoke. None of the people who go to my establishment smokes. I got news for them, they smoke. We've had to shut down and vent out
Well,
outside of
let's
this.
go back to this building.
Yeah, we can.
The woman whose apartment you're saying has all these issues.
Yes.
Is she here?
No, she and her husband both are classical pianists, and they travel a circuit. And there are times when they are gone for 3, 4, 5, even 10 days once they're on a long journey. Right now, both of them are out. Sometimes it's just one or the other is gone traveling because that's what they do.
So what are you proposing that they do? I mean, it sounds like it's a
Right.
visiting issue.
Right.
Do we want to shut down a business that's just beginning? Because one resident on the building has a
Not
complaint?
talking about shutting down a business. It's so interesting to me that in either case of the sound measurement,
Get that man up.
it's not about the sound in the restaurant. It really is about what's transmigrates through the concrete and everything else and just goes through.
add a comment?
Sure.
We've heard that what she has said in the apartment, but I just want to reiterate that their sound engineer never took a reading in her apartment from the restaurant.